Hey everybody, let's get part 2 of this thrift flip shabby industrial farmhouse, or whatever style you want to use it with, done. Now I'm starting out with this free tray that I got. I actually got about 3 of these from some stash at a house we cleaned out, and I have just attached this little cage thing to the bottom of it. I'm sorry I don't have that on film. I picked up some of these in one of my hauls. I'm not sure what they were made for, but what I did was I sanded the top of the little cage to get the rubber off so that I could attach metal to metal with this tray with some E6000, and it worked out perfectly. Now we're going to give this a couple coats of the white Waverly chalk paint, and then we're going to put a coat of clear liquid patina on it. Let that dry for the top. For the bottom, that cage, I'm going to paint it black with some ink, black Waverly chalk paint. Now I could have spray painted this first in black, but I didn't want to fool with that, so I just hand painted it. Next step we're going to use is these IOD transfers from the Brocante transfer pad. And I'm going to use part of this clock, and as you have seen in the previous part 1, I have already used part of this clock, and I'm using some more. I've gotten a lot of different projects out of this clock instead of just using it as one large clock, which you can. Now I thought about using that stamp line there, the IOD kindest regards, for some text. However, I went ahead and used some of these little type or words or text on, I think it was on part of the clock, yeah, because of the shape of it. So I'm just kind of placing them in different places on here. So we're going to add this cute little chicken that's also from the Brocante IOD transfer pad, and isn't it just cute? We're going to overlap it a little bit with our clock, and we're going to add some more text around its feet and another little part of the clock just to kind of finish this tray off. I'm going to go over this just a little bit with some sandpaper and do a little bit of distressing. I like for some of the background paint to show through these transfers. Now you don't have to do this. This is just a step I like to do, and I like for some of the background to show through it, so it looks like it's been there for a while and sort of part of the whole piece. So I'm going to go ahead and add some white wax to this, and I'm going to add a little bit of dark wax or black wax, but not much of that. I think I'm just going to use what's on the brush just to give it a little bit of a dingy look, and then I'm going to sand back through it a little bit, because what happens with this tray is once I put these waxes over it and then I sand back through a little bit with some fine sandpaper, it brings the white paint through the wax, and it almost gives it this pattern look. I don't know, it's hard to explain. And I'm also waxing the black base to kind of blend it in with the wax on the paint. Now none of these steps are, required, or you don't have to do them, but to me it just blends this whole piece in so very nicely. So what do you all think of this piece? Is this something that you would use in your home? It's a lightweight tray. It's easy to move, it's easy to style. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. We're going to finish this off with some DIY liquid patina. Now this next project is a super simple one. I started out with this bunny mold that I hauled in one of my other videos, my haul videos, and I really wanted to give it some more vintage vibe, or I don't know, just a little different vibe to it. It already had some patina on it just from age, especially if you look at the outside and then you look at the inside. The inside is super shiny. So what I did was I added some white wax from the DIY white wax, and I also go back and I add some black wax, and I really like how it turned out. Basically, it just toned down that silver a little bit more, and then it left the white wax in all those little crevices, and I only use the black wax sparingly, so you're just going to see a tiny bit of black wax on it too. Let me know what you think of this one, project number 2. I want to show you now, as I put this together, you can see the wax on it. It has that hazy look, almost like it's been used a lot and the baking has oxidized it. This next project is 2 pieces that I've put together. One is a round that came in some scrap wood to be burned, and my husband said, I thought you might like this shape and use it for one of your projects, and I said, of course I do. So we're painting the top of this in the Plaster Waverly chalk paint. I did attach these 2 pieces together. The base I thrifted. It was like a candle holder. I put some E6000 in between the 2. I made sure I sanded the top of the candle holder to get that paint off of it so it would attach good to the wood round. And I let that set overnight. I go ahead and give 2 coats of the plaster chalk paint on the top part and underneath. And now I'm just taking some of that plaster and I'm dry brushing it on. This next step I do on a whim. I thought, you know, I didn't much care for the dry brushing of the plaster. I don't think it popped enough on that black or gray paint. So I got a little chip brush and some of the white Waverly chalk paint and went ahead and did it on the base and the top, because the plaster color, believe it or not, it looks very white, but when you put it compared to the white, look how that kind of made it look, I don't know, just distressed. I really, really like it. So I'll probably be doing that white on top of that plaster more often to give it just a little bit of a different look. I decided to use some of the IOD transfers, and again, I think this out of the Brocante. I love this color and how it turned out. It's not quite white. It has almost a taupe look to it, and it's not quite black. So it just went with this piece so well and gave me that industrial farmhouse style. I have such an eclectic style. Sometimes I love the very vintage, very dark, moody. Sometimes I love the boho vibe. Sometimes I love the industrial. And I think a lot of the things that I make for my home could fit into almost any category. I like a really clean look on one end, but then on the other, I love maximal looks. So that's why I say I'm pretty eclectic. I'm just continuing to add transfers as I see that I might want some to balance it out, and adding some of the scripting from the transfer pad as well. Once I get that finished, I'm going to sand lightly and distress a little bit and add some liquid patina to this to finish it off. What do y'all think of that project? Don't forget, all of the projects will be in photos at the end of this video. I will tell you, I do love the black original color of the bird. However, this is a DIY channel, so we are going to make this thing over into another style. I did paint this with the Waverly White chalk paint. I think I showed plaster, but that is not what I used. And now I'm using part of the clock transfer from the IOD Brocante transfer packet. I want to tell you, this transfer came off so easy on this shape. I could not believe it. They come off fairly easy to begin with, but it just like jumped off of that paper onto this so easy. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I love how this bird turned out. Now that we have our transfer on there, we're going to go ahead and take a sandpaper and we're going to go and distress all over this little bird to bring some of that black back through. Now just sanding and wiping at the same time to get that look that I want. We're going to add some white wax to this because we're going to add some black wax, and I want to put down a barrier between the flat or the chalk paint and the black wax. So I'm going to use the white one first to give a little bit of a barrier. so that when I put my black on, I'm going to be able to pull some of that back off, because you'll see it covers the whole bird, and then it's easier to pull it back off if you've got that black wax or the white wax on to begin with, or some type of barrier. You can also use a clear coat of some sort. So I wipe off the black that I can get off there, and then we're going to go back again and add some more white wax and rub, and that pulls more of that black wax off. What ends up happening is what I want. I want the black wax to look gray down in the crevices of the bird to show off all of it, and it does. I just continue this until I get the look that I want. And yes, the bottom of this does have to be painted, and I will do that once I get all of this finished. I'm going to flip it over, paint that bottom, white and black wax it, rub it back. I am not going to seal this with a clear coat because I want the more toned down matte finish that these waxes are giving it, plus the wax has already sealed in that chalk paint. Now just look at all of that gray tone down in those crevices. What do you all think of this one? Is this one your favorite? I think this one is my favorite in this series. I'm not sure, it's so hard. Let me know in the comments below. This next project, this little picture, I really wasn't sure where I was going with this. I knew I wanted to put a mold on it and have it more in the neutral colors. So you all let me know what you think when you see this one and how it ended up. How I mix my baking soda and paint together is I don't measure. There is a specific way to measure it if you would like, but what I do is I pour some of the baking soda first, and then I add paint into it, or vice versa, and I mix it up and get the consistency that I want. Once I mix it up, then I can tell if it's going to be thin enough to paint with, but enough texture in it to cover. So that's how I mix it, just by, looking at it. Again, there's definitely plenty of formulas online through Pinterest, other YouTube videos that will give you a more precise formula. Once we finish this coat, we're going to do something a little different with this. Not necessarily the mold. We're adding a mold, and we're just going to add this one bird to it, and we're going to go ahead and paint this bird a very dark gray color called peppercorn in the folk art paint. I've slowed this down coming up so you can see a contrast in the difference of the bird and this chalk paint, and how it's going to end up looking in the end is going to be so different. I'm giving this, or I gave this, a thick coat of the white wax because I'm going to put on a dark coat of the dark wax, and I didn't want it to completely be dark and not being able to wipe away some of this wax. So what we're doing now is we're going to go ahead and just put this white wax straight on top of the dark wax and rub and pull off as we want it to look. What I love about this method is you can pull off as much in different areas as you want, and you can leave splotches. I know some people don't like the splotchy look, and I'm not saying I do too, but I like the dark left in some places more than others. To me, that looks more natural, if you're trying to go for natural at all, because this is something we're purposefully doing. Then it leaves bigger chunks in different places, which is how naturally things age and get patina. Now let's just go on and add another 500th step to this and add some of that Waverly white chalk paint back on our little bird to go down in those little cracks, and just to make it stand out a little bit more and blend in a little bit more. I know this was a lot of steps on this one. I'm just laughing doing this video because I'm like, if I wrote down these steps, would we be here all day? And again, these are not necessary. It was really an experiment. I've never done a picture like this with so many layers. So it was definitely fun. It was definitely a learning experience. And you guys let me know what you think about this one. Is this something you would try? Does this look like something you would find that's been used for a long time? I don't know. Comment below and let me know. And yes, here I go again, adding black wax on top of that white. I felt like the bird had a little blue hue to it, the gray did, or the peppercorn. So I added this black wax, which was warmer, back to it. All right, here we go with the beautiful photos, or are they beautiful? This is the picture that we made. And don't forget this adorable bunny rabbit. Oh my goodness, and I do love this one. Here is our riser with our little chicken and clock on it, partial clock. Don't forget about our cute little fat bird. Oh, he's a chunky monkey. Look at that gray wax. Ooh, well, black wax, but it's gray now. Here's our last riser. And coming up, you're gonna see all of the products or all of the projects together. What do you think? Industrial, farmhouse, shabby? You tell me. Thank you so much for watching part 2 of this video, and I hope to see you in the next video.